Thank you guys for being here. My name is Casey Graham, and I'm fired up to be here. Hey, what we're going to do first, I want to just see where we got people coming in from and what your business is. Feel free to put your website in as well. So where are you from? If you're listening right now, what part of the country, what part of the world? Birmingham, Alabama, Orange County, Miami, Florida, hotel business, Cumming, Georgia, Dayton, Ohio. Wow, look at all this. Isn't this amazing? All these people coming in here. This is unbelievable. Boston, Massachusetts. Good gracious, I can't even keep up. This is unbelievable. Oh man, I am so excited to be here with you guys. That is awesome. Awesome technology. Guys, feel free to throw your site in. Tri-State Cleaning and Restoration, membership business, color graphic. We got all kind of stuff here. So Orange County. That's awesome. Chimney business. I love seeing the diversity here. This is awesome. All the different sectors, all the different industries. I'm Casey Graham. We probably have not met before, and I'm honored to be here with you. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Gravy. And in just a minute, I'm going to introduce some awesome people that are here with us, and they're the experts. Kim, you can wave. Adam, you can wave. We'll bring you on in just a second. But before we do that, I just want to share, we've been doing we're calling these pop-up masterminds every week since this hit. And our goal has been, as a company, Gravy is our organization. What we do is that we return customers back to businesses. So it's actually kind of interesting that our business is moving in the up direction during this, is that we're having to help keep customers for businesses. And one of the things since we've started, that our heart has been that we wanted to build a company that was recession accelerated. And so we actually started building this since 2017. And I want to just show you this to give you, every week we're going to be doing these, and you're more than welcome to come. We're going to be talking about different parts of our strategy. And so this is the recession acceleration strategy that we have internally. And I'm showing you this as big picture. We're not going to go through all of this today. If you want this, we did a 90-minute training on this last week, and all of it. But all of this is part of what we're doing. And the point of me showing you this is that there is a way during the recession to have hope. There is a way during the recession to be creative, to get your business moving again. There is a way when times are down that you can absolutely take this time to do some unique things. And I'm not by any means saying that you shouldn't be upset or frustrated, or you're having to lay people off in payroll and all that kind of stuff. But what I am saying is, especially as we talk about what we talk about today and getting money and getting back to work, is that there's some unique opportunities during this time, and that we're trying to take advantage of, that we want you to take advantage of. And that's looking at it and knowing that there's a big world out there, and that we're going to keep speaking to the world. And then there's our clients, and there's our team, and then there's us as owners. And the part of the funnel today that we're going to focus on is that inside of recession, and inside of taking advantage of the opportunity that comes with a downturn, is that we believe that communication and opportunity are the two things. And in each bucket, there's different practical things you can do. And so today we're just focusing down on the owner bucket at the very, very bottom. And we believe that the communication to owners should be love. I got checked in today. The guy checked in on me, said, "Casey, how are you doing?" And honestly, what I want to say today to the hundreds of people listening is I want to say, how are you doing? I would like you to put it in the chat. If you had to say in a word, how are you doing right now? I want to know. I want to see what's going on. How would you describe what's happening in your business? In one word, how are you doing? Optimistic, cautious, overwhelmed, bad, frustrated, meh. Oh man, stalled, nervous, hanging in there, good, scared, nervous, busy, churning on information. So you can see that we're all over the gamut, but uncertainty fills the air. But our heart today, and I know Kim and Adam's heart today, is to help you. And we want you to walk away today and go, if there's a business that's doing well, Gravy's doing well right now, that we want to lend a hand, that Warren Averett wants to lend a hand, and that together we want to be able to help. So that's the communication. So my challenge to you today is to reach out to your community. Don't be just spreading memes of how bad things are and talking about how negative things are. It's not helping anybody. reach out to an owner, love somebody, check in on somebody, reach out to a friend today. And on the other side, when it comes to the opportunity, is creativity. Now, I didn't expect creativity to come in a $50 billion small business package, but now we have an opportunity to be creative. And so what we're going to do is we're going to dig into that. We're going to dig into the opportunity of being creative. And the best part of today is that I have no idea how to do this. I'm not the expert, but the people of Warren Averett are. And so I'm going to introduce them. So Kim and Adam, welcome to the call. You can unmute yourself. Hey, Kim, good to see you.
Hey, Casey, good to see you.
Yeah. Hey, Adam. You got to unmute. Let's see if we can get him. Well, Kim, let's just go ahead and do an intro.
Sure.
You guys are from Warren Averett. Let
right.
everybody know what Warren Averett is, who Warren Averett is, and who you guys are on the call today.
Sure. So I'm Kim Hartsock, and it's nice to meet everyone online. I am the managing partner of the Atlanta office of Warren Averett, and we are a regional full-service CPA and advisory firm. So we have offices all over the Southeast, and on behalf of the 800 plus professionals that are all working remotely, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. And we have experts like Adam who have been pouring through the small 883-page bill that was passed at midnight Thursday night, and trying to dissect it and understand exactly what each part of that bill means to business owners like you. And of course, we have lots of clients that are calling and asking and trying to understand how they can benefit from it. And so Adam and I have just been on the phone and on Zoom calls nonstop, just trying to help clients and people like you to understand what this bill means for you. So I hope that you'll find this day, this hour of today, very impactful, and we'll be able to give you some real details around that 883-page document. So thanks for having us, Casey.
Absolutely.
Hey, Casey, how's my sound quality? Good?
Yeah, you're good, Adam.
Right,
and Adam, introduce yourself and what you do at Warren Averett.
Yep. So I have been with Warren Averett going on about 9 years now, and I focus my practice primarily in the hospitality space. So obviously one of the hardest hit industries as a result of coronavirus. So one of the things, we started looking for right away was relief for these restaurants. And what we're going to talk about today was one of the, quickly emerged as kind of the centerpiece for, stimulus for these struggling businesses. So we've been monitoring this, and hopefully we have some good news to share on the call today about this program. And I actually just saw good news that the Congress just voted and passed. So now the bill is on its way to the president for signature.
That's awesome, guys. That's big.
Great.
That is so good. And so I want to do one disclaimer. Number one, I have no idea about accounting. These guys do, but we're not here as investment advisors or advice for the money and that kind of thing. But we're here to just say, when you look at 833 pages of single space typed text, they have a team of 10 people that are content experts that have gone in, pulled it out, simplified it. And what I can make it, and I can make fun of Alabama because I'm from Alabama. They made it. We're going to make this. Wait, you are too, Adam. So I can't make fun of
right.
you.
Yes.
But we're going to try to make this Alabama simple, which means that I can understand it. I made a 17 on my ACT. So if that gives you any, I barely got in junior college. So if that gives you anything, but bigger than that, we're about to get into it. I've got 10 questions that I'm going to ask here, and they're questions that you guys have been asking, and that we're going to get after it. But I want to say that this is very personal to us. Kim's husband owns a restaurant here, was voted the best barbecue in Georgia.
That's right.
And then 3 or 4 weeks later, this happens. My brother owns dental practices in Alabama. He's got 8 dental practices that he's only practicing 1 or 2 days a week now, and the staff's, not working. And so I think about that. I think about my buddy DJ Hans. He's in the event industry. I think of that. So this is very personal today, and so we're just honored with the ability to be able to share this. And so now we're going to get right after it. So questions. Adam is going to take the lead on this. Kim's going to chime in as well. But number one, what is the CARE Act for small business? What is the CARE Act? Just big picture. Help everybody on here understand what it is.
So what they've done is they've taken $350 billion. They've actually appropriated for this, small business relief. And just to give everybody on the call some perspective, this is the largest stimulus when you factor in the whole bill, which is over $2 trillion, the largest stimulus in the history of our country. So, ton of stuff in here from tax items to things you can do with your retirement accounts. But we're just focused on today, just focused on the small business relief. So what they've done, big picture, they've taken $350 billion and they've said, okay, we have a lot of small businesses out there that are struggling. What's the quickest way that we can get cash in their hands? So they've taken the SBA 7A program, which if you go out there on Google right now, you'll see where you can go to the SBA and website or go to a local bank and you can apply for an SBA loan. Those exist today, but that is not what this program is. So they've taken that shell. That's what they're going to use.
But this is important
yeah.
because people are going and filling out these forms and it's not the right forms.
That's right, and I'll touch on that. So this 7A program, they're just using that as a shell, basically, and they've expanded it, and that's how they're going to get cash into small businesses' hands quickly. And these loans, you're going to be able to go to a bank. We're hearing maybe as early as next week. Go to a bank, fill out some minimal paperwork, we hope, apply for one of these loans and get funding. We're hoping, in a matter of weeks. And just to hit on Casey, a point that you touched on, there's a lot of confusion out there right now. So we're seeing people kind of rush out and apply for those disaster loans. And just to make that distinction, these disaster loans have been widely publicized in the media the last couple of weeks, and they can be a good fit, depending on your situation. But we've seen some conflicting information in the bill right now that says you can't receive a disaster loan, which is applied for by going directly to the SBA's website. You can't receive a disaster loan and the 7A program, $350 billion that we're going to talk about today. So just want to, make that distinction of what we're talking about today. These are going to be obtained through private lenders and are different than what you've probably seen in the media for the last couple of weeks with these disaster loans.
Private lender being, I bank with Regions Bank, that I can go to Regions Bank, but the banks will they get to pick who they work with and who they do not work with. Is that correct?
Correct. And there are a lot of, and that's a good point, Casey. So there are a lot of lenders out there right now that are preferred SBA lenders, but Secretary Mnuchin actually said, I saw some comments from him last night, they are going to be releasing regulations in the next couple of days to hopefully have every bank that is FDIC insured to be able to make these loans.
Huge. That will open up and reduce the lines and get this fast. Now, before we get into the specific details of the who's and the what's and the how's, most people that I talk to about this, and I was sending texts to people last night, and they're like, "We don't believe you." I sent it to Kim. I was like, "People don't believe that this is real because it's like you're saying, oh, the government, or I just don't believe this is real." Like, how real is this? I want to know, like, how real is that you actually, if you meet the criteria, which we're going to talk about, that you're actually going to get money? What do you think?
I'll add a comment here, Casey. I've been talking to bankers to ask them, are they staying up to speed? Are they ready to go? We're hearing, just like Adam said, the senators are saying we want this to be done with less than 2 hours. You're trying to take something that typically has taken 14 plus days just to get paperwork processed, and they're saying now we want it to happen within 2 hours. It's happening so fast that some banks, we've heard, I was on a call this morning, some banks, if they have good relationships, are already approving, like kind of getting everything done so that when everything is settled, they can just hit the button and money gets released. We're hearing other banks say they're going to be ready to rock and roll, and they're going to approve it and release money in the same day. So the banks are on board with this. And but we are also hearing from banks that they want to start with their clients. So what we've been telling clients is, if you already have an established relationship with a bank who is SBA approved, that should be your first phone call.
That's good. That's good. Let's get in line first. That's why we're doing this. Do you think we're the first like public webinar talking about this? I hope so.
If you're not the first, you're very close.
That's good.
You're the first for us.
Yeah, good. All right, so let's get into it. Who is eligible and who is not?
Okay, so if you go out there right now and you look at existing SBA guidelines, you're going to see a lot of gross receipt test and employee test, and just ignore those for these purposes. You can still qualify for one of these loans under the existing criteria for an SBA loan, but they've really opened it up to where if you employ less than 500 employees, you're eligible. That's one test. If you can show that you've been impacted by the coronavirus, and then basically
what does show you've been impacted? Because if you're talking a 2-hour thing, I mean, to me, are they really going to be able to go through everybody's proof of showing? What do you think on that?
Yep. So there's actually a presumption. If you look at the bill, there's a presumption that if you're filling out this application that you've been impacted by COVID-19. So they're going to make you, when you sign up, one of the things that you're going to have to do is basically sign a rep that says, we're acknowledging that we need these funds to pay payroll, utilities, rent, and interest expense. We'll talk about those a little bit later, and that you need these funds as a result of COVID-19. And I will say they, in a way, there is not a bright line test. And the reason for that is they want these banks to be able to underwrite these loans as quickly as they can. Well, if they create a test to, show us that you've had a 25% drop in revenue or any other criteria, that's just putting too much on the banks, and these loans will never get made.
Okay. So who is eligible?
Another thing that they're talking about is that you would sign this affidavit stating that you have been impacted and that it's subject to being, to perjury. So that's kind of the underlying assumption that you're telling the truth. And if you get proven to be frauding the system, then they'll come back on that way.
Got it. So I'm going to do just a couple, guys. I know there's going to be tons of questions where we will not be able to answer them all today. And I'm actually jumping around on this one, but the big question I keep getting asked by all my friends, because we live in the gig economy, is this just W-2 employees, or is this also include 1099 contractors and contractors in general? If you're a musician and you're just a contract laborer, if a lot of people, I know some people that are one man or one lady consulting shops. Is this like what inside of the 500 employees? What does that mean?
Yep. So you will qualify, but the loan here's going to be the rub for a lot of people. The loan is based on 2.5 times payroll or 1099 wages. So you can be self-employed, but you're going to have 1099 wages that you've paid to basically drive your loan amount, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But the loan is I guess we could go ahead and touch on that. The loan is 2.5 times your monthly payroll. If you were to, there are certain tests, but just big picture, 2.5 times your monthly payroll. So that's W-2 wages. It also includes, independent contractors that you pay. So that's what's going to be driving your loan amount. So if you're not paying W-2 wages or independent contractors, right now, your loan amount, it just doesn't look like it's going to be significant.
Last question from the comments, and then we're going to keep moving through this, is how long do you have to have been in business for this to apply to you?
So there's no limit on how long you do have to have been in business February 15th of this year.
Okay.
So,
got it.
And
so
then,
when this hit.
Exactly. So if you started last week, you're not eligible. And that's one of the things that people are going to have to, basically represent when they go to the bank, is that they were in business and had employees or paying independent contractors on February 15th.
Okay. So what are any other borrower requirements?
So, borrower requirements, that they're, as Kim alluded to, they're going to make you rep that, hey, you need these funds for, these purposes, that you were impacted, and you're going to basically acknowledge that you plan to use these loan proceeds for payroll, rent, utilities, and interest expense.
Okay. And so let's talk about how the loan amount is calculated. So when you say 12 months trailing payroll average, is that literally taking, I mean, let's do it Alabama simple. How do you find out what that is? And if you've only been in business, or is it last month? Is it just last month? Because if you've only been in business for 2 months, how would you know that?
Yep. So for seasonal employers or somebody that hasn't been in business, there are separate tests, but not to get into those weeds. But for people that have been in business for a couple of years, the test for that monthly payroll, you're going to look at February 15th of 2019, and then you're going to all the way to February 15th of 2020. That's your 12 months, and you're simply going to take the monthly average for that period. And a few things to point out. Any salary in excess of $100,000 per employee is excluded from this calculation. So it's an up to $100,000 that qualifies. And then employer payroll taxes are not included. So the payroll taxes that an employer pays, which usually around 7.65% on the wages, that is not included as well. So we've had a lot of conversations with clients over the last couple of days, just as everybody's starting to do the back of the envelope math on, hey, what's my loan amount? So just keep that in mind. Monthly average of payroll, exclude wages over 100,000, and don't pick up the payroll taxes.
What about sales bonuses? What about those kind of things?
So all of those are included. Commissions, bonuses, they're included. And this is an annualized test. So if in the event you haven't been in business for a full year, you've got to annualize, your wages, and those bonuses and commissions could kick you over the $100,000 cap. But those are all included. Can
you include so let's say somebody makes 200,000, can they include 100,000 of the salary, or is it all kicked out?
Correct. Our understanding is they can include 100,000.
Got it. But if you're making $1 million a year, you can't put it in there, kind of thing. Got it. Okay.
Correct.
So people wanted to know, just to break it down even, to be clear, W-2 plus 1099, health insurance?
No? Health insurance is included.
Health insurance is included. What else is included? Guys, and let's make this really clear. Because people are asking the question on the math. If let's just say $100,000 for the last 12 months has been your every single month, it's $100,000 average. So you take and you get an average, and then you can multiply times 2.5.
Correct.
So that means you would get 250. But I know people are asking, if it's $1 million average, you would get 2.5 million, and then it caps at what?
Caps at 10 million. So this test for your applicable loan amount is the lesser of this 2.5 calculation that we're talking about, or 10 million. So it caps out at 10 million.
Let's answer Corey's question. Kim, can you answer that one? If you've been in business 8 months, do you take the average? Yep.
I think, Adam, you correct me if I'm wrong here, but if you've been in business less than 12 months, you just take the average for the length of time you've been in business.
Correct. And there's a specific test, and they've moved this as the bill has been finalized, but there's a period, and I'm looking at it right now. You basically, you would have a shorter look back period. So I don't have a specific answer on how the 8 months is calculated, but you're definitely still eligible.
That's good. Okay. People are confused on the 1099. It looks like it's if you pay a 1099 contractor, they are included in the formula. If
Correct.
You pay a W-2, they are included in the formula. If you pay sales bonuses and commissions up to $100,000, it's included in the formula. Your health insurance coverage is in the formula. What about contributions to IRAs and people's retirement accounts? Is that included?
So we think the retirement benefits will be included, but now we're basing that off of just a few words in the bill that says retirement benefits. So maybe we'll get some more guidance on that, but right now, I mean, I think they would be included just based on what we have today.
That's right. Okay, so let me do a practical example. I go to the bank. Is there anything I need to have with me at the bank, or do we not know yet?
We don't know yet, but I will tell you, based on the way the bill is written, what businesses are going to have to do. You're going to have to prove that you were in business on February 15th of this year. You're going to have to prove that you either paid independent contractors or had employees and were paying payroll taxes. And then the loan calculation is going to be based on, the payroll that we've talked about. So I think, tax return, some EIN documentation, which would be a part of the tax return, and then, payroll tax return. So what we're telling everybody is just, go ahead and get your arms around that info. I don't think they're going to require you to have a 2019 return, because obviously a lot of those are under extension. So we've gotten a few questions about that. Hey, do I need to go ahead and file my 2019 return? The fact that they've extended that deadline until July 15th for most, for individual returns, I don't think you're going to need a 19 return.
Okay. Yeah. And some of this we just don't know yet on the nitty gritty details. But let me go into still the 2.5 times loan amount. Okay. Let's just say your average payroll is $1 million. You qualify up to 2.5 times. Does that mean that you have to take 2.5 times, or not, or you could take less?
Good question. I suppose you could take less.
I know most people won't, but
you could technically take less. I don't think they're gonna prevent you from taking less.
Okay. And then how does the funding work? Do you know yet? Is it literally like send you a government check? Is this straight instant funding into the bank account? How does that work?
So we're learning about this every day, but Mnuchin said yesterday that he expects small businesses to be able to go to a bank, complete the paperwork, and when the loan application is approved, receive same-day funding. So this will I think they'll all be wire transfers.
I love sitting here with you, and I love when that happens, I will believe it.
Yep.
Oh wow. Okay, let's talk about loan forgiveness, and let's talk about what for people that are new into the world of like what is like you get you get $250,000. This is a loan. Is that correct?
Correct. It is
and
a
what
loan.
What are the terms of that loan?
Okay. I'll just walk through put this all together, what we've talked about so far with this loan forgiveness, because I think you kind of have to trace it all the way through. So just use a simple example. Assume you receive a $100,000 loan. Okay. So you've got your $100,000 loan. As soon as that loan is originated and those funds hit your bank account, that starts an 8-week clock. Okay, so that's important. All right, so the funds are going to hit your bank account. That starts an 8-week clock. And within that 8-week time frame, you are allowed to use those loan proceeds for payroll, rent, utilities, and interest expense, and some other debt obligations. So that's your qualifying expenses, if you will. You can spend it on all of those items within that 8-week period. Assuming you do that, that full amount is eligible for loan forgiveness. So in our example, you were loaned $100,000. You get to the end of the 8-week period. You've spent all of the loan proceeds on qualifying expenses. That full amount is eligible for loan forgiveness. If, and this is the key point, you maintain employees that you had before the crisis began, which is February 15th. Or basically a monthly average, but we don't really have to focus on that part now. So if you maintain employees that you had before the crisis began, 100% of the loan is forgiven. If you're only able to maintain 50% of the employees that you had before the crisis began, 50% of the loan would be forgiven. Now, there's an important distinction. Obviously, a lot of you you may be thinking, well, hey, I've already had to let people go. I don't know if I'm going to be able to rehire them, in this loan period. So there's an exception. So anybody that you have had to let go from February 15th of 2020 all the way through 30 days after this law is signed, which it may be signed tonight. So from February 15th to 30 days after today, anybody let go within that time frame, as long as you bring them back by June 30th of this year, they do not count against you in the loan forgiveness count.
Them or their role?
Their role.
Their role, very
So
important.
So strictly head count.
What if you, okay, got it. So that makes sense. What if you don't spend, if you get $100,000, if you get a $250,000 loan and you spend, 150,000 of it and you still have 100 left in the bank after the end of 8 weeks, then what happens?
So the amount that's not forgiven, all right, so you're gonna, when you get to the end of that 8-week period, hopefully you have some that can be forgiven. As soon as you apply for that loan forgiveness, that starts basically if there's any amount that's not forgiven, a 10-year term would be the term of the note.
Okay.
And it would have an interest rate not to exceed 4%. So 10-year money with an interest rate not to exceed 4%.
No personal guarantee.
Good point. So they have waived the personal guarantee requirements.
Which is, I've never heard, I've never heard of that.
No collateral. And usually with an SBA loan, if you have available other credit, that's an issue. It's
Right.
not an issue. They've also waived that requirement as well.
Okay. So but what's the interest rate based on? Not up to exceed 4%. I get that, but what do you think? Is it just based upon what?
I think it's based on I haven't delved into that piece.
Okay.
But I mean, obviously it's not to exceed 4%, but it may be tied to a treasury rate out there somewhere.
But you could, it could be 2.5, it could be 3.75. We don't know.
Correct. And that answer is out there. I just have not located that yet.
That's okay. And then the terms are 10 years. What if your business goes out of business and fails and you still owe money on that?
Good question. I mean, thinking through that, there's no personal guarantee, there's no collateral. There have been a lot of things move around in the bill. For example, Thursday, a bill that they released, one version of the bill, basically removed this no collateral requirement. But now, obviously, they've waived that again. So mechanically, those parts about the loan guarantees and personal guarantees have moved around a lot. So we don't know exactly how that would work if you went out of business. But it is noteworthy that there's no personal guarantee.
Got it. So Karen Duke, it says any money not spent within 8 weeks rolls over to a loan of 10 years at 4%. Is that the simple version?
That is the simple version.
When do you have to start paying on that loan?
So as part of this, go ahead, Kim.
I don't know. I just want to make sure you understand the way that question was worded, because that's a little bit of trick. It says any money not spent rolls into the loan. And really, if it's forgiven versus a loan, has more to do if you meet the threshold of retaining your employees. I want to make sure we don't miss that point.
Yeah.
What triggers the conversion to a loan versus being forgiven, I think is the question.
Yeah. So I mean, you could have, the money that you don't spend does not necessarily trigger the amount of loan forgiveness, or the money you spend or don't spend. That's just the first part of the test. The second part of the test is, which is driving your loan forgiveness, is how many employees or headcount you're able to retain or rehire by June 30th.
So what if you were going to have to let them go and you didn't, and you kept them, but they never left?
So if you kept them on the payroll? So
let's just say, I mean, there's some people in here hanging by a thread. They get a check. The person didn't leave, but now I'm able to keep them and pay my payroll. Is that what I'm trying to understand what it means by we continue to pay them.
Yep. So there's without getting too deep into the weeds, there's a calculation out there to where if you don't retain, a certain number of your employees, you're not going to be able to have enough qualifying expenses to eat it, over the 8-week period. And that's what they've tried to design this bill to do, is to basically Casey, to your example, that employee that you're thinking about letting go because you're hanging on by a thread, you get these funds, you can now, keep that employee, stays employed, doesn't have to go on unemployment. And then you get to the end of the period and your loan's forgiven.
Okay. Just a couple quick questions would be, okay, let's say then you hire a contractor during this time period that you didn't have them on staff before, and then they come to a video project, let's just say, and you pay them $10,000. Like, is that what we're talking about? You can spend the money on, or no?
Would this be like so if you're, a consultant and or you're paying a contractor, you could use, these funds to pay, in this example, that person $10,000 if they're an independent contractor, and that would be, a qualifying expense.
In the forgivable side. Okay, cool.
Correct.
And just to, again, if we're, what you're able to spend the money on is rent, utilities, payroll, health insurance. It's more, the 2.5 times payroll is what calculates the amount you're able to borrow, but you can spend the money on other expenses.
Got it. And we'll be able to outline more of those things. By the way, we're going to do a guide on this. I know Warren Averett's going to do a guide. We're going to do a quick guide off of today's call. But do y'all know when that'll be out so everybody can get a deeper version?
So we actually have an article that we are sending out this afternoon that's pretty detailed, and we've tried to keep it the Alabama version, just real simple. So we'll be glad to share that with you and everybody on the call. And it's set up in a way where it's bulleted, kind of in a question and answer format. So I think that would be helpful for everybody.
Got it.
And also on our website, if you go to warrenaverett.com, as soon as you open the webpage, there's this little germ COVID-19 icon. If you click on that, that takes you to our resources page, and it has every communication, any legislation that's been passed. There's some specific to Georgia. There's a lot of things that are happening quickly, and we're updating that page as soon as things happen. So you can access any of those documents there as well. And this document that Adam's referring to that will be released today will be there as well.
Okay.
Hey, Casey, we got a good question. I just pulled up some of the questions coming in. Somebody asked, what if I have to reduce their pay? And that's a good question. So if you have to reduce their pay by more than 25%, you will also, they fall out of the loan forgiveness calc, if you can kind of trek with that.
I don't understand that.
So if you have to, let's say
I was paying somebody $50,000 a year, then what happens?
All right, if you reduce their pay, drop it by 25%, or let's just say you're now paying them $25,000.
Okay. Those
wages that you paid them are not includable. Basically, when you get to that second part that we're talking about you're required to maintain employees, but you're required to keep their pay within 25% of what it was.
Got it. And hey, you didn't even know this, but Leanne works with my brother. So out of all the questions, and has 8 dental offices in Birmingham, but you've got beautiful teeth, so you don't have to worry about that. All right, let's, I got a couple more questions on when do you start paying? We didn't get to that. Like when do you, so when it rolls over or whatever, and it becomes more of a loan at no more than 4%, when do those first principal interest payments start?
Yep. So the lender is required to defer interest and principal for the first 6 months of the loan.
Wow.
Okay. Yep. Now I'm in full disclosure. I mean, this bill is hot off the press. I'm a little unclear whether it's, from the day the loan is originated or 8 weeks into the loan, but big picture, they're required to defer interest and principal for 6 months, and they can go up to a year.
Got it. Okay.
And that whole design is there so that you can get the loan, go through the 8-week period, and not have to make any, interest and principal payments if it's going to be forgiven.
Got it. So I've got one more question, then we're just going to do all Q&A. Okay. Because I'm thinking outside of just the 8 weeks and the urgent. Let's say you get the money, and let's say I'm thinking tax implications of this money is my question. So if you get it and for some reason you become profitable this year and it booms back and you've got some of this money sitting there, what are the tax implications if you don't spend it all? And that may be a dumb question, but it's something that we're thinking about.
Not a dumb question, and you hit on a good point. So any proceeds that you don't spend is not necessary, or that you don't have to spend on these qualifying expenses is not taxable income. And it's also noteworthy that the loan forgiveness, so hopefully 100% of your loan is forgiven, that loan forgiveness is not taxable for federal income tax purposes. So that was a question we had initially, is would the forgiveness, I mean, usually when you're discharged from, indebtedness, there's, income from that, but that doesn't apply here.
Got it. Okay, let's do this.
I
Kim,
saw a
go ahead.
question, Casey. I saw a question around a tax credit for paying employees when you're shut down. So there's, like I mentioned, there's several pieces of legislation that have been passed related to COVID-19. That is a separate issue related to paid sick leave and extended FMLA. And I'll just direct them to our website where there is specific, there's actually a webinar you can watch, and there's an article that specifically talks about that, because the short answer to that is yes, there is tax credits involved in that, but that's a separate legislation than what we're talking about here.
All right, let's go through these. Let's do rapid fire, okay? What are the nonprofit qualifications, religious exemptions?
So there is a 501c3. Those are eligible to participate. So some of them may think that they're not eligible because
Go tell your friends.
Yep. So right now, not-for-profits are not eligible to participate in a 7A program, but 501c3s are eligible to participate.
Okay.
But other like 501c6, for example, associations and things like that are not eligible. So you do have to have the 501c3 designation.
Got it. This is a key question too, because there's a bunch of people here, individuals like musicians or consultants or like gig, like, a graphic designer that works, it's just a single shop and they work off gigs. What if, they make 20 grand 1 month and then they make 5 grand 1 month, but they're a contractor. And so their income comes in that way. And then how does that work?
So the way I understand it is that it will be based on, once they do, just like everybody else is going to look back at their W-2 wages, they're going to look back at 1099 wages that they've paid or W-2 wages. And what's going to drive their loan amount is going to be 2.5 times what they've paid, people that work for them. So, if it's a band, how much were they paying, people to set up and that type stuff, just a kind of simple example.
Got it. What about international payroll?
I saw that question come through. So international payroll does not qualify. So in the payroll count, they cannot be a non-resident.
Great question, Tara. I think it was Tara. Yep. I mean, I can't keep up with the questions. There's so many. And like I said, we're not gonna be able to fit. We got 17 minutes left.
Another plug here is, so again, this bill was 883 pages long, and we are focused on one piece of this legislation that is only related to the SBA 7A loan. So there are pieces in this legislation around unemployment, and so there's some questions here around people who don't qualify. Maybe they are sole practitioner, independent contractor, where they're not paying payroll, so they don't fit into this. There are provisions of the legislation which were designed around that. So and again, we can't get into all 883 pages because we're running up against an hour just to take one piece of it. So
that's right.
And I will just keep deferring back to our webpage where we will continue to have more conversations, and we have a podcast. If you want to listen, I'll put another plug in for our podcast. I'm one of the co-hosts, and it's called The Wrap, WRAP, and it's anywhere you can find podcasts. we're recording at 9 a.m. tomorrow to try to cover as much of the legislation as we can. So it'll be 7A loan plus other pieces of it. And we hope to have it live out on the podcast network by the afternoon tomorrow. So just some of these questions just don't pertain to the 7A portion. So I just want people to understand that there are provisions that cover that, but just not in this piece.
This is a good one from Hans is, do you count owner's distribution into payroll?
No, it would be payroll or 1099 wages.
Okay.
And that draw question, so I see where that question's coming now. That's a little gray in terms of if you have somebody that doesn't, if they just work strictly for themselves and they're not paying anybody else, so they don't have any 1099 wages or W-2 or 1099 contract labor or W-2 wages, they may be unfortunately on the outside of the bill.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So we're throwing all the links in there. You can see warrenaverett.com, the wrap for the podcast. What I would say as a business owner at this point, just taking a break from, and we'll get to as many questions as possible, is this is worth studying. And this is from the individual side as well. This is worth studying. This is worth getting completely and totally educated through using Warren Averett and listening to their podcast and listening and digging in with your, financial advisors and whatever it is on your side. But don't take just this hour. This is such a small amount of this. This is $2.2 trillion, which is over 50% of what we spend as a nation annually. So there's amazing opportunities and different things you can do with the retirement accounts. And I even saw something even with employers, and this may not be in this part, employers, and this may be for bigger businesses, able to pay off the student loans of their workforce. So again, and I read a little bit on that, and it being like a tax forgivable. There's all these different kind of crazy things. So we're not going to get to it all today, but totally it's worth your time.
So two things. One, I saw a question that came up again, and it was saying, okay, if we spent, if we got $100,000 loan and we only spent $70,000 in that 8-week period, can we give raises? Again, I want to point to payroll is what is used to calculate the amount you can take for a loan, but you can use the proceeds for rent, utilities, health benefits. There are other things that you can count as using the proceeds for. So it's not designed for you to have to find somewhere to spend the money. It's designed to say that over an 8-week period, if we base it off 2.5 times payroll, this should give you enough money to keep the doors open and keep your employees paid over this 8-week period, because that is exactly what it was designed to do. And then the second question, sorry, go ahead, Adam. No,
I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say, we're hearing a lot of talk, a lot of people right now are just hanging on by a thread. And some people are, they're saying, I can't wait 2, 3, 4 weeks possibly for these funds to start flowing. So in the event that you're able to get a bridge loan, you would obviously get the bridge loan and then start meeting your obligations today. We're getting the question, well, what do I do? I mean, can I go back and use these proceeds to pay off my bridge loan? Because when you look at it, it just in the law, the bridge loan, that technically would not be a qualified use of the funds, but there's a lot of talk, and I expect some guidance to come out on this. Some people are already raising that issue, and they're looking at whether or not you'll be able to use these funds to pay off a bridge loan, and that as long as you can trace them through to payments on previous, payroll, rent, utilities, and interest expense. So I just wanted to make that point. And then I saw a question on timing again, hey, when do we expect this to happen? The secretary said yesterday that, hopefully by the end of next week, they're going to have this up and running. So it may not be by the end of next week, but that gives you an idea of how quickly they are trying to move on this. And they know that, this has to work. They have to get these funds moving as quickly as they can. And I think we'll see initial guidance to the banks come out within a matter of days.
The other
That's good.
point I was going to make is somebody asked a question around an NOL carry forward. So there's a thing called a rider that gets put into legislation. So that's basically anytime there's a new piece of legislation passed, they say, was there anything we missed in prior legislation that we can pop into this to correct it? So there are a couple of things that were done to correct prior legislation. One of those was an NOL carry forward. The other one had to do with restaurants qualifying equipment, the way they depreciate it. So there are a couple things like that where you're reading the legislation, you're like, where did that come from? And that's what that was for, was just to correct prior mistakes in previous legislation.
That's good. That's good.
Sorry, I keep seeing these questions. Another question I've seen several times has to do, people are saying, well, is this capped if I have cash in the bank? Is this capped if I have a certain revenue amount? The answer is no. The only thing is that you meet the less than 500 employees and that you show that you've been impacted by COVID-19 to have a loss, and that you calculate it based on 2.5 times payroll. So all those other things that typically get factored into an SBA loan are not on the table here.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I want to talk to Chris's question because he says, I live in New York City, and blessings to you, by the way. It's terrible up there. And my small business, which I own, pays me $90,000 a year in order to pay my rent, buy my food, cover my student loans. How is it that this doesn't cover me? I really hope that it was a misinterpretation. It does cover him. It would cover his payroll.
How does he, I would just ask him if he could quickly, but how does he pay himself? Does he pay himself through a W-2 or through getting a 1099? Like, how does he pay himself?
Yeah,
if it's
Chris,
through distributions, then unfortunately that doesn't get considered here.
I pay myself via bank transfer as expenses come in.
So that may be an owner draw, and it could qualify under the self-employment earnings, but that's just something that we're just not 100% clear on yet, is how it's going to work for all of these self-employed individuals that don't have a payroll, don't have employees on the payroll or 1099 wages.
Right. Yeah. When will this process start? We don't know. They said it would be, they want to say a week, but again, until I see something in Washington saying 1 week and it happening, I don't know.
I would say call your bank. That's what I'm telling people. There are some banks that are on this that are ready to go. I would call your bank and I would say, I am interested in a 7A loan. Can we talk? And I would ask them, what do you want me to bring? What day can I set a meeting? And I would be ready to go, because theoretically this goes into law tonight, assuming that the president signs the bill today. Mm-hmm. Then it goes in. So I would say call your bank, because the bank is who has the funds. They're the ones that are going to control this process. And I would call the bank.
Colin asked, do you know is there any bank recommendations?
So we've probably talked, Kim and I, just to a dozen in the last few days. And we're a lot of mixed responses. Some banks are just focusing on their existing customer base. But hopefully, so I don't think we have a specific, one that we would recommend, but hopefully, like the secretary said, hopefully we get, more banks signed up to do this, everybody that's FDIC insured, and this can really start flowing.
Yeah, the list of banks approved. Go ahead.
I was just say, if someone wants to reach out to me, I'll be happy to give them a couple names of people that I know that are doing these.
Okay. So in the Q&A, which is not the chat, we've got some questions. We've got 7 minutes left, and I've been missing those. I'm sorry, guys. Let me hit some of these Q&As. What about personal credit quality, credit check?
They are not, the lender is not required to evaluate your ability to repay the loan. So your credit score should not factor in here.
Wow, I've got a good one from Derek Jones. What if I have rental properties that are no longer paying rent, but I don't technically pay myself? The rent just comes into my LLC bank account. Would I qualify?
So you're going to have to look, go back to that formula and, do you have any independent contractors or employees that you're paying? In that situation, there just may not be a big driver for that loan amount, if any at all.
A big question, everybody. Go ahead, Kim.
I was just going to point to the reason why. I mean, I know it may be difficult to understand, but the reason this bill was put into place was to keep unemployment from skyrocketing to 30%, because it went from 3% to 9% in a matter of 10 days. So the goal of this bill is to keep employers employing their people. And so that's why it's all based around headcount and payroll, is that they want people to stay employed.
So Cameron Barker asked, how do they know if the loan has been used in its entirety or not? I'm not sure I understand that part.
Yeah, so at the end of the 8-week period, from the day that the loan was originated, you're going to have to go back to the lender, and there's going to be a process for you to prove what you spent the loan proceeds on. So, I envision that being, providing them payroll reports, rent payment. So there will be a process where you furnish, receipts basically of what you use the proceeds for. And then the lender is going to be responsible for discharging you, from the debt.
Is there a penalty for early payback?
No prepayment penalty. Good question.
Okay. What if they're currently laid off? Will we have to bring them back off of being laid off by June 30th?
For them, so for them not to count against you in the loan forgiveness calculation, because remember, whoever you have to lay off or you don't bring back on, you're going to see a proportionate reduction in your loan forgiveness amount. So, you don't have to bring them back on, but it's going to affect how much of your loan is forgiven.
What about this one? What about lost sales? What about like people, even Gravy practically have people in the sales pipeline. We have clients that said, I've got to go, but then we have people in the sales pipeline saying, I'm not doing business with you right now because my business has been affected. So we have lost sales. Is that considered impacted or no?
Yes.
Yeah. And they don't, go ahead, Kim.
No, I was going to say, it's very gray, but I think this is where I guess this is a statement that you're making. I don't know that you're not going to have to go prove that somebody had a proposal and then they were on the fence and they declined it, but it's a statement that you're making under the laws of perjury. But it could be people that are impacted from the global supply chain, right? Delays in their product, or the product changed than what they were given, or they lost sales, or they lost opportunities at sales. It's a very gray area. And again, there's not a form to fill out where you're going to have to turn in paperwork. So I think there may be more guidance that comes out that dictates that, but as of right now, that's the way it's written. Adam, correct me if you feel differently than me.
Isn't the gray for speed? At the end of the day,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so big buckets, gray, speed, get money, go. Give money to the good guys is how I look at it.
CPAs and lawyers and bankers slow everything down. So anything you can do to remove us from the process.
Let me get Tara. Tara's asked this question, and I can tell she's frantic because she has another appointment. I don't really understand the question, but how long are you committed to the same head count? Does that make sense to you guys? So
you have to maintain that head count through basically for the 8-week period. That 8-week period that we keep talking about it's referred to as the covered period. So you're committed to maintain it, through that date. We've received a lot of questions, well, what if I bring somebody back by June 30th and then let them go a week later? I don't know specifically, how that's going to work. There's always, there could be a way to, I'm not sure there, but, big picture, you're committed for that 8-week period that you have to spend the loan proceeds on.
Yeah. All right. This is last question. So businesses that are currently temporarily, this is a great question from Ben. They're currently temporarily closed, but I mean, heck, how long do we know how long this is going to happen, right? Restaurants, bars, and have temporarily laid off people. I'm confused about how the timing works. They may have to stay closed another 4 to 8 weeks after that with the shelter in place. So does it make sense for them to hire people back until they reopen? Any clue on how that would work?
Yeah. So in that situation, I mean, your loan is going to be based off of payroll from February 15th of 2019 to February 15th of 2020. So you're going to get the loan based on your average monthly payroll, when you were at full speed. And then you're going to have to run the math to see, okay, I'm going to get a loan as if, based on, 2.5 months or 2.5 times my monthly payroll. You're going to have to do the math to say, okay, well, if I don't bring anybody back, am I going to have enough expenses, these qualifying expenses, to eat up and basically have the loan forgiven? That's the math that a lot of people are going to have to do.
And again, I just go back to, because we had a call yesterday, our Gwinnett Chamber had a call. Our U.S. Senator Loeffler was kind enough to give us a call to describe this. And what her point was is the point of this bill is to keep people employed. So even if your business is closed, is this a bridge to get you to the point when you reopen to keep people on your payroll and you not have to go out of pocket? And basically, we're providing you with the funding to keep them on your payroll until you can reopen, and then we're going to forgive the loan and just call it, even. So that's the point.
Got it. Okay, guys. So here's what I would like to ask of you guys. We haven't asked anything. But here's my ask. I would ask that you guys would connect with Warren Averett and Kim and Adam. We put the website stuff in, we'll send it out. And then on my side simply is I'm going to be tracking with Kim and with Adam as this thing unfolds. And follow me on LinkedIn. It's where I put all my helpful content. The only ask I'd have is you're on LinkedIn, come follow me there. Let me know if this was valuable for you. Tell Kim and Adam thank you. We're not getting paid to do this. I just wanted to be helpful. And so I think LinkedIn, connecting with Adam, connect with Kim. Is there anywhere else they should connect with you guys?
I'll just say we'll share that article so everybody that was on the call today can have our, where this is all laid out clearly. And we got a lot of questions today, with the gig economy, solo, entrepreneurs, sole proprietors. So I commit to this group. We'll have something in the next couple of days that addresses these specific situations in kind of a Q&A format of why or why not you wouldn't qualify, and try to help clear up, some of that confusion. That's just something we haven't focused a lot on to this point, but we'll try to get some clarity there.
That's awesome. Kim, thank you for setting this up. Adam, thank you for being a genius. And where do you live in Birmingham? Just curious.
The Liberty Park area.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. I grew up in Pleasant Grove and went to Sanford.
Okay.
So thank you guys. Look at all this awesome. Roll Tide, Ben. Yes, Roll Tide. I saw my favorite meme, Kim. You're going to hate me for this. It showed Georgia in a national championship trophy, and it said social distancing for the last 40 years.
You were doing so good, Casey. You're being so nice. And then you blew it.
Guys, thank y'all for being here. We love it.
Thank you.
Done. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Adam. Yep. And we'll see you guys later. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
All right. See ya.
Take care.
I have no idea how to end it.